Hey all, Heretic here with your Hearthstone Battleground weekly anomaly update. We've got 3 new anomalies hitting this week. Let's take a look at them and see if there's anything unusual about them or anything you should know before you jump into those games so you can be as prepared as possible. We're going to start with, what are the odds? Only Tavern Tier 1, 3, and 5 exist. Triple rewards discover a minion of your Tavern Tier. Well, on its face, it's very simple to understand what you do with this. You only have 3 tiers of minions. You discover a minion of your tier when you triple. Simple. Okay. If only Tavern Tier 1, 3, and 5 exist, do we start at Tavern Tier 1? And then when we tier, do we go to 3? How much gold is it? Or maybe that isn't the case. Maybe all the Tavern Tiers, you start at 5 and they're just all there. In which case, why even bother having Tier 1, it feels like. But you know what I'm saying. It's like, we're missing some key parts of this one that we can only infer what we think they're going to be. And they look pretty interesting depending on the version of these you throw out there and talk about. Banned from what are the odds are Hooktusk, Galakron, Phelan, Toki, Sneed, Guff, Omu, Chenvala, AFK, Putricide, Cariel, Thorum, ETC, Ticketus, Timeline Acceleration, and that's it. Now, there's a couple different win conditions. We're not going to dive into that. I'm not here to completely spend a half an hour talking about each one of these. But without the information we're lacking right now, there's going to be some things we just don't know, and it's going to make it difficult to tell you what to do. Obviously, you're going to look for the usual win condition cards, but remember that some of the pieces and parts you usually look for might not exist in this lobby. If you're sitting there and you're going, oh, well, I really want to play Murlocs, because I can get a Bazkill, Bream counter's not in the game. You go, oh yeah. It's gonna make things work a little different. Some of the pieces and parts you need just don't exist. So just keep that in mind when you're going into these. How to even? Tavern Tier 2, 4, and 6 exist. Triples discover a minion of your Tavern Tier. Well, guess what? I've got the same questions as before, plus some other ones, because I thought of something. And in this case, you know, it's the same thing. How many tiers are there? Is it just 2, 4, and 6? Do we start with all the minions in the pool? How does this work? What does it cost to tier? I don't know. Maybe someone's seen something else somewhere, but everywhere I've read and all the things I've looked at, no one's really talked about how this one's going to work. But it's a good question. When we look at the ban list, it's the exact same as the previous ban list for what are the odds, plus Alexstrasza. I have a question though. Once again, it kind of depends on how the lobby works, but Patient Scout is tier 2. It is even. It is not on a ban list that I can find. If you pick up a Patient Scout on turn 1 and you wait 2 turns, do you then get a tier 6 minion? Because holy crap, everyone buy Patient Scout. It just became MVP. I mean, even if tier 6 is in, like, so let's say it was 2, 4, 6 automatically turn 1. It still wouldn't be a bad idea to pick up a scout if there was nothing good in the shop, just so you could get a guaranteed 6 in 2 turns. I mean, it's very interesting. I want to know how this one's going to work. I kind of like the idea of these two. I'm just curious about the practicality and how they're pulling off the execution of it. Next up, we have Deep Blue Sooner. At the start of your turn, get 2 temporary deep blues. They give a minion more stats each time. If you're unfamiliar with this, this is the spellcraft from the Deep Blue Crooner minion. Deep Blue is a +1/+1 buff, and every time you use it, it gets 1 better. Now, typically when you're playing Deep Blue, you are playing Naga. And if we take a look over at the ban list, we have Vol'jin, Mutanus, and I don't have it here, but I know I read somewhere that they said Naga are banned from this lobby also. So you're not going to be able to do the Deep Blue build. You don't have to worry about trying to find Zesties. They're never going to be in your shops. Don't worry. Unless they are and something goofy happens, who knows? But they're not supposed to be there. That being said, you're going to be looking for the usual targets and stuff like this. Beyond that, the Zesty, you're going to be looking at any of your cleave minions, your big divine shields, stuff like that. Since you're going to get some really big scaling, the more progressive this game gets, everyone's going to have monsters. Hey, later in the game, it's probably never going to be a bad idea to invest in a Taunted Leroy just to help deal with the people who are a little aggressive and go right for the big nasty. Take that thing out early, let it die, and, you know, destroy the rest of their board. But that's it. That's the anomalies we have this week. We have a big patch happening this week. We have some big changes to the meta, but these anomalies are still going to impact your game since they are in more than the other anomalies typically. So you have to be prepared, start thinking, look at the minion lists in your lobby, and really remember now that certain things are going to be gone from some of these anomalies. In the case of Deep Blue, you're going to see rampant scaling going on the board, in addition to all the usual scaling you see. So definitely keep it in mind as you start your games this week. Going to be a little different. Thanks for watching. I hope you learned a few things and you had a good time. I'll see you in the Battlegrounds. Until next time, have a good one. Later.